Hey guys, what's up? It's Kyle here. I'm going to do a quick review of the TNA Impact Lockdown tonight pay-per-view. So let's get right into it. Pay-per-view opened up with the Lethal Lockdown match with Team Eric Bischoff versus Team Garrett Bischoff. If Eric wins, then Garrett, his son, would have to leave TNA. If his son wins, then Eric Bischoff has to leave TNA and can never use the family name Bischoff ever again. So yeah, honestly, this match, I didn't see the purpose of Eric and Garrett Bischoff being in this match because both these guys did absolutely nothing. Eric just pretty much spent most of his time hiding, in the corner of the ring, and then Garrett getting the hell beat out of him like a rag doll. So I really didn't see what was the purpose of these guys being in the match. He really could have filled those two spots with some real wrestlers and still had, both teams represent both men. But whatever. But despite that, I was still expecting some type of, at least some type of, high-flying action from Aries, Kazarian, whose new haircut, by the way, just looked weird on him, AJ, and Daniels, but didn't get really any of that from any of those guys, so that was a bit disappointing. So this match just sucked. Next, we get into the tag match with Motor City Machine Guns and Samoa Joe and Magnus for the tag team titles. Joe and Magnus had a successful title defense against Motor City. This match was alright. I was glad that Joe and Magnus won because personally, the tag team belts have been flip-flopping back and around since Beer Money had lost them last year. So I think for Joe and Magnus to be established as a tag team, as a legit tag team, I think they need those belts around their waist to help elevate them and to help establish them as as a real tag team. Then the next match was the TV title match. Robbie E going up against Devon for the TV title. Devon beat Robbie E, successful title defense. Next match was the not the X Division, but the women's knockouts title. Gail Kim going up against Velvet Sky. This match was alright. Velvet Sky lost to Gail Kim. Gail Kim held her up by her tights. So Gail Kim is still the women's champion. Next match we got, well, not even the next match, but we got to a program with Ric Flair calling out Hulk Hogan and saying he's pissed off. Hulk Hogan tells Ric Flair, if you and I lock up, we'll blow the roof off this place. I'm just like, you guys look absolutely ridiculous. It's not 1990. It's 2012 now. Get over yourself. But Hogan punches Ric Flair in the face, and Ric Flair just blows up and just acts all irate, which I think is freaking hilarious. I never liked seeing Ric Flair wrestle in the ring, but, to see him carry on like a fool like he always does, like he did in Lockdown tonight, I always find it funny and entertaining and hilarious. Then the match we get into is Matt Morgan versus Crimson. This match was crappy. I will say this, I enjoy Crimson better as a heel than a face, but Crimson ended up getting the victory by climbing outside the steel cage. Then we get to Jeff Hardy versus Kurt Angle. This match I thought was decent. It could have been better than what it was, but I'll cut it some slack because Kurt Angle did wrestle tonight with a leg injury, so that kind of slowed them down in their pace. But the match kind of started off slow, but really started to pick up towards the middle, going into the end. So it turned out to be a decent match at best. Jeff Hardy getting the victory over on Kurt Angle. The next match was ODB and Eric Young had successful knockouts title tag team defense against Sarita and her cousin. And then we get on to the main event between James Storms and Bobby Roode. Now, before I get on to this main event, to me, I felt like the entire undercard of this pay-per-view was just rushed just to get to the main event. And secondly, the Tennessee crowd just sucked tonight. They absolutely sucked. They weren't in unison when it came to the chants. They were just all over the place. Tennessee sucks as a wrestling crowd, and they were boring, and they didn't help make the show any better than what it already wasn't. So we get to the main event, and I have to say this: when Bobby Roode walked out from the have to say this: when Bobby Roode walked out from the ramp to the ring, he looked pretty dang impressive. I mean, Bobby Roode's just done such a fantastic job as world champion. Seeing him walk out in the ring, he looked like a world champion. You could see he was confident. He had that cockiness. He looked like a legit world champion. And it just reminded me of Hulk Hogan saying last year how he thought Bobby Roode's not world championship material and all this other crap. And looking at Bobby tonight, it's like Hogan couldn't be more wrong than he already is. He wasn't no real talented, bit him in the butt. But onto the main event, though, Bobby Roode, James Storms. I thought this was a really good match. I thought this was the best match of the night. This really wasn't, I would say, a wrestling match. This was a war, a brawl between both men. They started off the match, the first 10 minutes, they started off just fighting each other outside of the ring and ramming each other's heads against the steel cage from the outside. And like I said, because this was kind of like more of a brawl between the two more so than a wrestling match, I liked it, and I thought it helped, really tell the story between these two of how they were, former best friends, tag team champions, and all this other stuff. But now they've gone and split up and gone to two totally opposite sides of the road, and they're, gunning it and just hate each other and, putting everything out on the line for the world title. I thought it told a fantastic story tonight. The ending, however, just didn't live up to what I thought would have happened. James Storms ended up giving Bobby a super kick. He gives one super kick, and then when he gives him a second super kick, Bobby Roode ends up falling back through the steel cage door and out to the ground outside of the cage. And Bobby Roode wins. Not intentionally, but kind of inadvertently and accidentally due to James Storms kicking Bobby in the face, causing Bobby to fall outside of the ring and still keeping his title. So a very screwy finish to what I thought was a really good match. So all in all, I thought Tna Lockdown sucked. Like I said, it was just really disappointing because for the most part, Lockdown is always the best pay-per-view to me, and now I've always enjoyed Lockdown better than TNA's biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory. And I've watched every single Lockdown, ever since Lockdown's inception. I've always enjoyed Lockdown, and Lockdown has always been one of the best pay-per-views I've always looked forward to from TNA, ever since TNA made the pay-per-view. And I can honestly say for the first time ever, this was the crappiest Lockdown in TNA history. Hands down, this was the crappiest Lockdown. And it's also just a little bit disappointing to see how TNA, how they build their stars for you to get invested in them, but then when it finally comes for the time for you to capitalize on all that investment and all the hard work you put into that wrestler, TNA don't do it. They take 2 to 3 steps back. They did it with Bobby leading up to Bound for Glory, and now tonight at Lockdown, they've done it again with James Storm. So, TNA for you. Let me know what you guys thought about the Lockdown tonight, the pay-per-view as a whole. Did you think all the matches were rushed just to get to the main event? What did you think about the main event itself, along with the ending to the main event? Leave your thoughts in the comment box below. Subscribe. Peace.